What's good, everyone? Alex Trataros here with another Jets episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. And what makes us my buddy, my coach, my pal, the man with a plan, the one and only, John Meleka. But before we ask John how he's doing, guys, please make sure to subscribe to this podcast. We're on all audio listening platforms. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to give us that 5-star rating. And if you listen to us on Apple, please make sure to leave a comment. That helps oh so greatly. We're on YouTube too, so make sure to go find the page, Knicks, Jets, etc. period. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know when a new episode drops. And when you watch a video, hit the like button, leave a comment. We'll interact with you. Got to get to some of the comments on the last episode. Got a lot of comments on the last Knicks episode, which is great. We really appreciate all you guys for commenting. Don't worry, we will respond if we haven't responded right now. If you're listening to this pod. Hopefully we've done so already.
This one will get a couple comments, I'm sure. People will have some thoughts.
I hope so. This is good. We got a good one today. But everyone, while you're over here, look at the YouTube page. We got another podcast, Winning Picks Weekly. John, video producer Craig, Chip Murphy. Man's been rooming in with these guys. He just moved in. New York City rent is going up. You know what it is. These guys go down everything, all right? Baseball, basketball, golf. I'm surprised they haven't done hockey yet. Maybe they've done hockey. I don't know. Did I miss hockey? Did you guys do hockey yet?
No hockey, but we did do an MLB primer with you last episode, so that should be up as well. So definitely check that out, man.
Definitely check out our Yankees primer because we're hyped. Watching the Yankees right now playing the Toronto Blue Jays. It's 4-3 Toronto right now, bottom of the 7th. You know what it is. But make sure to tune into Winning Picks Weekly.
owns us.
Thanks. You didn't need to say that. We all know that. Things that we don't need to say out loud that we all know.
It's tough.
And last and certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We are there. John, Mr. Meleka, Dr. Meleka,
me, I
Minister
guess.
Meleka,
Juris Doctor.
Juris Doctor. You are Juris Doctor.
Are we doctors?
Yeah,
what's up, man?
Yes.
What's up, bro? What's up, man? I'm
chilling, bro.
Like you said, dude, I feel like we're in mid-Yankee season, even though we're on our second series. It feels like we're deep into the game right now. Starting pitcher problems, players own us. I mean, we are right in the thick of things. So I'm getting excited about that. We have, Mets Nation kind of getting hyped over there too. So, our guest, our guest today will talk about that. They're doing okay right now.
He's not even a guest, man. He pays rent here too.
That's true. That's a fact. That's a fact.
It's a New York City apartment, all right? We got a 2-bedroom bus for 3 people. It's all good.
Yeah, for 8. So, there's that going on. We got the play-in stuff, which we're going to have an NBA playoffs episode on Winning Picks Weekly coming out. So definitely check that out. Chip joining us as well. But, the play-in on Tuesday was unbelievable. First Wednesday game, not so great. Hopefully the second Wednesday game is more of an upset. I got San Antonio there. So, I'm hyped about that. We got little things going on here. Champions League, English Premier League. But you know what it is, man. The NFL draft is 2 weeks away, man. 2 weeks.
Good Lord.
NFL mock drafts coming at me 150 miles an hour. I am done arguing with people over who to like, who not to like. I've watched enough tape, right? The Tom Thibodeau way, 4 times each for each damn player. I mean, I'm done, man. I am ready for the draft. I'm ready for MetLife. I'll be at MetLife for the NFL draft. That should be cool. A little Jets party. Had to skip it last year because of COVID. That virtual one. So, dude, I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped for the Jets to finally, secure some wins this year through this draft. This is the 3rd draft. Joe Douglas still hasn't beat a division opponent. I like to make sure we're all aware of this fact. Tom Brady is about to go to Miami. I mean, things are never quiet in the AFC East, dude. So I'm just hyped about this draft. And today we're going to get into our own little mock draft going on, top 10. So just another mock draft for you to throw at somebody else's face and say, oh, look what this mock draft says. So I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped.
Nice, man. Nice. And you thought you were done arguing with people about who you like and don't like? Yeah. What were you walking into? You're walking into the wrong den, bro.
I know.
Come on, man.
I know. It's
Don't
exhausting
worry,
after a while, bro. It's exhausting after a while.
Oh, don't worry. You're still going to be exhausted after this one. You're going to go to bed just being like, oh, man, another draft.
More mocks, baby. More mocks.
More mocks. But don't worry. We got another guy to join us, as you mentioned, Mr. Mets Nation over here. Looks like he's wearing his orange shirt for Mets Nation. We got our one and only video producer, Greg, to join us today because the man that got John into the draft spirit has to be with us since he's our video producer, loves the Jets as much as we do. We may not like the Mets, but we do like the Jets. So what up, Greg? How you doing today, man? How you feeling?
Good. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here. Excited to be here. And, yeah, I mean, sad you guys don't like the Mets. I mean, you guys are talking smack left and right to start the season, and we're off to a great start. So, hopefully the Jets are off to a good start.
And Vladdy already got a solo homer.
Oh no. Yeah, Mets already locked up their win for the day, so I'm happy about that. Scherzer was plus 170 on the run line. Dude. I mean, Max Scherzer just getting disrespected by Vegas. That was the easiest money I ever made. So, yeah, happy the Mets are starting off strong, and also very, very happy about this draft we have coming up. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get into this mock draft, and hopefully the Jets start out strong. We'll see.
Yo, speaking of winning picks weekly, speaking of winning picks weekly, real quick, that line moved from plus 120 to minus 105 by game time, and it was an afternoon game. So I don't know what kind of games are being played right now on the sports book. Why Scherzer was getting an extra plus 25 juice plus 20 juice before the game even started. So look out for that. And honest to God, like while we're on this topic, how on earth were the Yankees like that big of favorites against the Blue Jays today? Like the Blue Jays, the ones that are supposed to win the division. I don't know. Just all weird all around. So definitely keep your eyes locked on Winning Picks Weekly. And dude, this MLB season has been pretty unpredictable so far, except for bet against the Pirates. I think that's the number one.
Yeah.
That's the number
take the
one
Pirates
thing right
under
now.
and take a bet against the Pirates. It always wins.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just had to watch Vladdy just give the Yankee fans a shh to the stand.
Well, he gave us a lot of things, man.
Tough.
He's given us he gave the second home run. He gave us the finger. This one, he's giving us a shish. He's giving us everything. He deserved 3 home runs in a game. I mean, what do you want from the guy? I would in Yankee Stadium, I would be running around naked. So good for him for just giving us one finger.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they call it wiffle ball field, but that's another story for another day. But all right, guys, you know what it is. We're here. We're gonna do a mock draft, but do you want to make sense of this Deebo Samuel news out there? The potential of him being traded. What are you guys thinking?
Making sense of it, Alex, would be fantastic. Okay, making sense out of all the rumors going on right now would be honestly amazing. But nothing has really changed from the Jets landscape. We know what the Jets are up to. They came out, the always secretive Joe Douglas comes out. He says, here's the deal that we had for Tyreek Hill. Here's the money that we were willing to pay him. And when asked about it, he said, hey, guys, I want other teams to know what we're willing to offer for a number one wide receiver. Right? So all the number one wide receivers that are rumored to be looking for a contract and are negotiating an extension, just like Tyreek Hill. Couple of names. We got Terry McLaurin out of Washington Commanders. That's one hell of a franchise right now. I don't think they really have a lot of money to put in escrow. Okay, yeah. So we'll see what goes on with that, with signing, guaranteed contracts.
Is he got to sell the team, do you think?
So if you haven't heard, Greg is talking about Dan Snyder, who, there's all these rumors about morality things that are always going on with Mr. Snyder and how he runs his organization. This time around, there's a little double booking going on, right? Coming from one of our money guy, Greg Albert. This guy's having 2 books, changing up the revenue numbers, keeping security deposits for season ticket holders, like just wild stuff. This is one of those infractions where the other owners are like, bro, we don't care about anything. Like, this is hitting my literal bottom line. So this isn't even a fans thing. This is like your buddies, your colleagues, Roger Goodell, he's going to be like, dude, you got to go. Like, we can't have this.
Bro, you want to talk about a dysfunctional franchise? Like, my
Bro,
God.
he's stealing money from his
Everything.
friends. What an idiot.
But
Like,
it's not
straight
even just
up.
that,
Yeah.
bro. We have the sexual harassment allegations. We have everything.
Oh, yeah,
bro.
there's
It's just
everything.
everything. That's what I'm saying. Like,
he's
you
checked
want
every
to talk
box, bro.
everything. That's why I don't want to hear any more talks about, oh, the Jets are a dysfunctional franchise. The Knicks are dysfunctional. No. Let's go look at the Washington Commanders.
Dude,
That's
they are
a dysfunctional franchise.
They're a hell of a team.
Legitimately, word by definition, dysfunctional.
Yeah, so we got
Insanity.
McLaurin. That's maybe on the books there that we can grab. We have, of course,
Maybe on the books.
Yeah,
who
we don't
knows?
know. Yeah, we don't know what goes on over there. Which book? The left one, the right one?
Yeah.
Like, who knows anymore? We have Deebo Samuel, who's obviously pissed off with the 49ers. There is the Jets, LaFleur, Shanahan connection, so they're buddies.
Mhm.
So it's not like they're going to screw each other. Like, I think they would actually help each other out at the end of the day because their friendship is way more important than to them some one guy off a roster. That's just my opinion of how these guys look at it. And then there's some guys that, are rumored that have been thrown off the books, like DK Metcalf. Seattle not even taking calls for him, but the Jets putting out that they'll throw a 10th, pick for him. So Seattle not picking up the phone. There's Deontay Johnson from the Steelers, who terrible tragedy coming out of Pittsburgh this week, obviously with Dwayne Haskins. Speaking of the Washington football team, right? Just awful down the board. But who knows what's going to go on with Deontay Johnson there, right? We don't know what's going on with their quarterback situation, especially now, right? So we don't know if they're going to, pay a wide receiver. Those are really the four guys that have been rumored to be on this block. Do you guys have any thoughts on this Deebo Samuel thing? Or, more importantly, and I guess this is running through Jets Twitter and Jets Nation, especially, and I'm not even going to blame them. I get it because they said we'll trade a 10th pick for Seattle's DK Metcalf. Seattle said we're not going to pick up the phone. And now it's Deebo Samuel scrubbing the 49ers and there's obvious connection. And obviously we take him. So I guess the question is, before we get into this mock draft, I'll throw it up to you guys. Would you guys trade? And let's keep it on the Deebo Samuel thing because he's the hot name right now. So Would you trade the number 10 pick, which we rumored to give to DK, for Deebo Samuel? Would you rather spend the 2 2s and a 3 like we were offered for Tyreek Hill? Okay, and obviously there might be a little more there. But because Tyreek is a little bit older, but he's more productive and he's more on the field. So maybe it'll balance out a little bit there. Or 3, would you just rather hold the 10 and take a wide receiver or just, any other random, player, which we'll obviously get into in the second half of this pod with the mock draft?
That's tough, man. So the 2 2s and the 3 as the other option, like we were offering for Tyreek.
Yeah, just like
That's
hypothetical,
tough.
Right?
Yeah,
plus
but
75
still,
mil. Let's just call it 75 mil too.
But none of those trades, I feel like, are actually the right value for Deebo, in my opinion. I feel like they're all on an extreme path of like too much for a guy that, while he is productive, sure, you have that injury risk value to him, right? But I feel like the more realistic one would be like a second and a third for Deebo, in my opinion. I think that's like top end offer to get him. Not a 10th. I don't think he's worth a 10th because if I'm trading a 10th, once again, it comes down to I'm trading this draft pick because I'm in position to make a push for the playoffs. Like I understand for DK Metcalf, we're talking about a monster at the wide receiver position.
Talk to me about that. Like I'm going to push back a little. Like what's the difference in your eyes? Like why is Deebo Samuel, not valuable enough, but DK, you would do it? Like that for me is where I'm kind of getting lost in the sauce, no pun intended, right? Speaking of the draft, like that's what I don't understand. Not just from you. This is the normal rhetoric going on around the league. If it's in his injury concern, I get it. I don't agree, but I get it. But is that really it, or is there something more to you that you see that you're like, yo, DK, you could have the 10th pick and you want the extension rather than spending that on someone like Deebo?
I think the thing with me is like looking at DK and I just see like I think one, you look at his physique, right? And you're like, oh, okay, that guy, one, is strong. He can be a true number 1 option, could be a difficult guy to take down. You don't really get wide receivers built like him. 6'4", 235 is not really a common for the speed that he has. And even when you look at his production since he's entered the league, he hasn't missed a game. He's missed one game, missed one his entire time in the league. And all those seasons, it was minimum 900 yards that he was receiving. He went over 1,000 yards his second season, Pro Bowler that season, 2020, 2021. He missed getting 1,000 yards by, I think, 34, 33 yards. So you could say, okay, he's close to making the 1,000 yard threshold. And this past season where we were watching Geno Smith having to throw this man the ball for a good period of time. And if you're having to watch Geno Smith throw it to DK and not have Russell Wilson out there, and it's like, yeah. So like at that point, and the fact that he's still productive with that type of guy, I can understand saying, all right, DK has a lot left in the tank, obviously, to produce. When I look at Deebo Samuel, the last season, he only played 7 games, right? And the season before that, he played 15. This season, he played 16. But between the last 2 seasons, he was in the 7 games that he played, he didn't even cross 400 receiving yards. You know what I mean? Like 400 receiving yards. That's like a big thing to me. Like the year before, in 7 games, you know what I mean? Like in 7 games, he didn't even cross 400 receiving yards. And the year before that, sure, you could say he did that. Yeah, I know he gets the carries. And I think that's like the intrigue about is that he's such a gadgetry player. And you could say, well, this Jimmy Garoppolo, it's not really that good, right? You can make all these excuses for Deebo. But I think the injury factor really is a big thing because Deebo, not the same size as DK, who's 6'3", 235. Deebo's 6 feet, 215. We saw him out for a good portion of the season, and he relies on his speed. DK doesn't necessarily rely only on his speed. You could say, all right, if he gets older, he's still a freaking tank who's going to catch the ball and get some yardage. So I can understand giving up a 10th for that type of player. For Deebo, for a guy who's relying on the speed, who hasn't really shown you a lot within his 3 years, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily put up a 10th round pick, in my opinion, for him.
All right. What about you, Greg? What do you think about Deebo and DK?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Alex with the production as well as the injury. It's not a 10th overall pick for me. DK, I think he's just a little bit out of all the guys that you listed, really. I mean, I think A.J. Brown might have been one of the names, too, that got floated out there, too. So it's just like, even A.J. Brown's like a freak, but DK's just on another level. So besides being healthy, being productive, no matter who the quarterback was, to Alex's point, I think is important. And with Deebo, too, it's just, for me, it's the injuries. Second and a third, I could see that. But at this point, leading up to the draft, we're 2 weeks away or so. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll get a deal done, but at this point, I think it's a lot of posturing, a lot of just rumors and stuff. Because like you said, the mock draft stuff kind of gets, tiring at some point. So, got to come up with some other stuff to talk about. But for me, the Deebo thing just doesn't really, I don't know, get me as excited as DK Metcalf would, because that's a clear number one outside guy that we have, more who can run the inside and the outside. Barrios, who can, obviously do the end arounds, but also carve up the middle and stuff. And then we have Corey Davis, who could kind of do it all as a number 2 in the system. So with Deebo, I don't know if he comes in, he's a true outside number 1 guy. So then you kind of have this mix mosh of guys where they can all kind of do similar things, but no one. We still need that deep ball threat that I think we're still missing. So that's why I think DK for a 10 makes sense. Whereas maybe for Deebo or even, A.J. Brown's the one where I still think maybe we'll give up a 10 for that. But even then, with his injuries, I don't know if we would. So for me at this point, it's a vertical threat guy that I think we're really looking for. Someone that could be a true number 1. And I don't know if I see that with Deebo. I think he's to Alex's point, I like the word gadgety. I think he's just a little bit too much of a gadget guy to rely on and pay big money to. Plus the injuries, it's just tough. It's tough to bank on that year in and year out.
All right, yeah,
I think the
injury is tough. I understand what you guys are saying with the 2020 season being tough, But all his production with no quarterback really, kind of pushes me a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's fair, but even still, like even without seeing him with a solid quarterback and having to watch Jimmy Garoppolo, who's not really a good passer, like compared to like Russell Wilson, who's, he's going to pepper all the wide receivers. I think even that still gives me like a question mark of like, all right, was this just a hot season for everybody on the 49ers? What's the actual Deebo Samuel that you get? And that's why I would be hesitant to give up a 10th when I see DK. I'm like, okay, if we actually have a good wide receiver or not, this guy's still going to be productive no matter what. Yep. If you're telling me the baseline to get to keep DK active in offense is a Geno Smith, I think Zach Wilson could be baseline that. Obviously, I'm hoping for more than that. I think he could be more than that. But if you're telling me you need someone like Geno Smith to keep DK active in an offense and to make sure that he still gets his yards and he can get all of his catches in, then I'm fine with that. And the other thing I'll say about this too is that looking at Deebo's like track record, he's only eclipsed 100 targets once, and that was this past season. While DK, as soon as he came into the league, he was getting 100 targets, over 100 targets each and every season. And now you look at the catch percentages, and it's not necessarily the greatest, like it's between 50s and 60s, but still the fact that he's able to get that production with seeing 100 targets, you could say maybe it's because he's gained that much that he's able to get over 1,000, but still getting over 1,000 yards receiving is still impressive. So that's why. But I think it's more so towards the fact that he's just, you look at him and you're like, I've never seen anyone built like this. I think the last person that we could say that we saw was a wide receiver who's had an insane built was Terrell Owens. And you're like, yo, Terrell Owens was built. You know what I mean? Yeah. DK is just on a whole other level though.
That's fair. And when you talk about numbers, I mean, Diggs just got an extension for like, I mean, the fake number is like 100 million. But I think the real guaranteed number is like 48 mil, right? And if you look at his numbers compared to Deebo Samuel's numbers, I mean, it is literally no comparison. The last 2 years, Diggs has doubled him in almost everything. So I understand why it'll be tough to pay him the money he's looking for, right? Because it's going to be around the same, like 22 per year or something between 20 and 23. So I get it.
Would you trade a 10th round pick for Deebo? Would you do any of those deals that you listed out though to get Deebo Samuel?
I am in the camp where, as much as I love, and I'm glad Greg brought him up, and I really apologize, to myself for, not bringing him up. I love AJ Brown, dude.
Yeah.
I love AJ Brown with everything in my heart. I love Deebo Samuel, and I like DK Metcalf. Okay, like I'm not like super sold that he's gonna be this superstar, especially with his diet. He's a bit of a character. Okay, like a couple losing games.
Oh, that's for sure.
A couple losing games in at MetLife. I don't know how things are gonna go, especially if we trade a lot of assets for him and pay him. He has a couple unproductive games. I don't know how he's gonna react. I'll be 100% honest with you. Okay, that it worries me. Deebo Samuel, a little bit on that too, a little bit on that scale. AJ Brown, he's the one guy where I feel super confident, right? If I'm GM, I'm not trading the 10th pick for any wide receiver in the league. I'm just not doing it, especially one that needs to be paid a huge extension, like $100 million, $50 million guaranteed, or $60 million guaranteed, whatever it is, $70 million, like Tyreek got. I'm not doing that. But if it's Cooper Kupp that's paid already, you know what I mean, or it's guaranteed,
yeah,
I'll do it. If it's AJ Brown, I'll swallow my pride and I'll do it. The Deebo Samuel thing, I'm worried about. The DK Metcalf thing, I'm worried about. It's just Terry McLaurin, 10th pick. That's too much for me, right? I'd rather take, as much as it'll hurt me, I'd rather take a rookie wide receiver, save the money, even if he sucks in a year, in a year or two. Not Mims sucks, but like, a wide receiver like Devontae Parker sucks. You know what I mean? We could still trade him. Okay, so there's still value there. We see what our GM has done with Sam Darnold. We've seen what he's done with Jamal Adams. Like, we've seen what he's done with top 10 picks. And so if you're asking me for the 10th pick, the only guy I'm really going to bite on is AJ Brown. I know him. He's good with, Elijah Moore. He's good with Corey Davis. That is our whole wide receiver staff.
Yep.
He's going to be the veteran for Zach Wilson. We have Berrios. Like, A.J. Brown, I'm cool with. I don't think he's going to fleece us on the contract. I just don't feel that way with McLaurin and DK Metcalf. In my opinion, Deontay Johnson, I think they're great. However, if we're talking the 2 seconds in the third and getting like a late fourth back or whatever, now we're talking. Now any of these guys are on the table, 100%, no problem. Give away the second round picks, like screw the D-line, the nose tackle, screw the linebacker. Like, we'll figure that out. If we could somehow manage, that's my opinion. If we could somehow manage that, that's a good way to take care of your assets, because you still have the number 4. You could definitely trade down if you get rid of the, if you really want it, or if you want to trade down from the 10, pick up something else there, because now you're the first, day 2, you're kind of sleeping until the 4th round.
Yeah.
So I get that aspect of it. But if you're asking me what I think the Jets will do, I think the Jets are going to convince one of these teams that are in turmoil, whether it's Washington, like we said, okay, whether it's from the owner standpoint that literally can't afford to put money in escrow. I think that's an issue that is not being talked about enough. Number 2, DK Metcalf, like, are they going to go in with Drew Lock? Like, because Lockett's contract, he's on the books.
Yeah.
The next 2 years. So are you really going to roll out Drew Lock and like pay your wide receivers $1 zillion and just like let it rock? I don't know if that's a great idea. So they might not want to screw themselves. Same thing with San Francisco. Like, Alex has mentioned it, the injuries, the stats. Like, are you really going to pay that guy, $100 million or whatever he wants, that extension, that $25 million a year guaranteed, for a guy that you don't even know who your quarterback's going to be? Is he going to be better than next year and you weren't able to get over the top? Like, I feel like, we can kind of play that role. Like, hey, this is the stuff we have, and you guys are going to get screwed if you actually go through with this. A franchise tag, I get it. You want to franchise tag your guys, screw them. I'm with you, right? Even though deadline passed. Like, for next year, if you're going to franchise tag them, I get it. But I think the Jets are a little bit of a we made some money. We made some money this year. We got some assets. Like, we're willing to spend a little on the nice car, get that luxury car. Even though, we could ride around with a bunch of Camrys, like we have. Like, I think we're willing to spend on the Bugatti. So that's where I'm
For
at.
sure. And the last thing I want to say on Deebo Samuel, because you also pointed out, right, like, you're just like unsure. You talked about everything. Even out in San Francisco, like, just look at his playoffs, man. Like, look at these past playoffs. Like, did he really give you that production where you're like, yeah, you're worth a 10th pick or even 2 seconds and a third? I mean, let's just go through the games. Against Dallas, he got 3 targets, 3 receptions for 38 yards, no touchdown. Against who is it? Green Bay. It was 4 targets, 3 receptions, 44 yards, no touchdown. Then he plays the LA Rams. It was 7 targets, 4 receptions for 72 yards, 1 touchdown. For 2 of those games, he was absent. Like, I don't care how you want to carve it. If I'm paying you, if I'm trading for that type of guy, you got to be present in those games. You know what I mean? You have to be present in those games. That's just my opinion.
I mean, he's still rushing. So, like,
sure, but that's the gadgetry though. It's like, once again, you're asking for, like, he got 10 attempts rushing in both those games, 72 yards against Dallas and 40 yards against Green Bay. But still, you're my wide receiver. Like, that can only go so far, just like doing end arounds and stuff like that. Like, if I'm paying you to be my wide receiver, I want you to be the wide receiver first and the gadget second. That's just me, though. That's just me.
Yeah, plus we got Berrios for all that stuff, too, man. We don't need another guy. We got the king of New York already.
I'm just 184 yards after contact on the rush is pretty good for a wide receiver. Like, that stuff, like,
no doubt.
In the playoffs, like, that stuff is – I don't want to change to Knicks, but we don't have a playmaker. Like, I know that Berrios is our third down. If you want a first down, you have to throw to Berrios, and you have no other choice. I'm with you, because Elijah Moore is guarded, Corey Davis is injured, and we don't have a tight end, right? But now we have a tight end. We have 2 of them. Corey Davis is back. Berrios, maybe he's a little more confident now. Everything looks good on paper. But dude, having Deebo Samuel on third down, oh my God, that was like that to me is like having Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, even though he drops passes, like any of those guys are gonna make a huge difference. Drake London, I just don't know. Like I just don't know, bro.
There's no doubt. But we're talking about like the value trade for somebody like that, and what does he bring to this team? Like all that stuff is cool, but it's not worth 2 second-rounders and a third, and it's not worth a 10th round overall pick. That's just me though.
That's fair, and we want our fans, our subscribers, our listeners to let us know what you guys think. I'm pretty sure I know where you guys are leaning. I know that you guys want a wide receiver, but it is a good conversation, like which wide receiver or the draft. Like we're about to get into it. All the mock draft have us taking a wide receiver at 10. So let us know what you guys think, whether you think the Jets should take a wide receiver, which wide receiver, whether we should draft one, how you feel about, the 10th pick for DK, rumors, the double second and a third, which we had for Tyreek Hill. Like, let us know what you guys think about it.
Well, moving along, you know what time it is. You know what it is, guys. Now we're going to get into the real controversy, the real stuff that people are tuning in for and they want to know. We're going to get into this mock draft. We're going to do the top 10. We're not going to go 64. We're not going to go none of that. We're not going to do the entire thing because that would just be wild. We're going to do the top 10 like we did with our boy JD on the Knicks episode. So it's going to be Greg, John, and myself thinking and adding a little flavor of our own to how these teams are going to draft and being strategic throughout all of this. I guess since we haven't really decided, how do we want to go? Who's going to be going first, second, third? And do you want to do a round robin? How do you guys want to do this?
I think we should have a since we have 3 people, we should do mini votes on each pick. And, because there's going to be question marks, right? The first pick, second pick, all the way down. So I think if we have consensus on it, we move on. If not, we'll just have a little discussion. We'll still move on. All right. But I think we'll try to especially get some consensus on what other teams are picking. All right. And then we'll definitely stop on the discussions for the 4th and the 10th. No trades, none of that. We know we have the best GM in the league. We know we have the highest draft value since the 91 Cowboys. Like we don't know what's going to happen. The money is like kind of tight right now for draft picks and salary cap. Like if we make a trade, picks have to go because we literally can't afford them. So that's another thing to consider, right? With the 10th pick. So, there's a lot of moving parts. So I think do maybe a 2 out of 3 consensus because none of these mock drafts have a consensus. I know Greg and we've been going through PFF mocks like crazy. Yeah. If you do 1,000 mocks, you will have 999 different answers. Maybe one will look the same. So, let's get this rolling, man. I mean, the first pick, to me, it should be an easy one. Everyone, of course, it's smoke season. There's 2 weeks left. Everyone is yelling everything. But if this is not Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, if you're going to give me a curveball from the first pick, I'm going to be hyped, dude, because just the last preface before this mock draft is maybe 18 players have been mocked within the top 10, right? That are guaranteed top 10 picks. And there's about 50 guaranteed first round picks. So something is off. Okay. Something is wrong. So we're here to decipher it. And again, my first pick, let me know what you guys think, but it has to be Aiden Hutchinson from my perspective.
It has to be Aiden Hutchinson.
Think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
I think it's bread and butter just because the Jaguars do need defensive line help. And I think that's why it's just clear cut answer. You know what I mean? So you go in there and get you get the best player coming out of college. You don't make it too difficult. Just take Aiden Hutchinson. You keep it moving.
Deal. So looks like we're all on that. First one went easy. I don't think that's how it's going to go for the rest, but we'll see. I know the number 2 and the number 3 pick, to be honest, they control the draft from my perspective. Not only because the Jets are at 4 and my whole world revolves around the Jets. I mean, that's obvious. But more importantly, just like the Jets when they had Sam Darnold, where the Giants really controlled the draft and they took Barkley, and that really changed the dynamic of the whole draft. I believe that the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans really control this draft. Man, everybody has been mocked to them. So I don't even know where the Lions are going. I know they just drafted Okuda, A couple of years ago, he got injured last year. He was a complete bust in the top 5. So are they going to go with another, cornerback? Are they scared of DBs altogether? With Hamilton, did he knock himself out with that 40? Because it's hard enough to get a safety in there. Thank you, Jamal Adams, in the top 4. So did he ruin himself? Are the Lions going to switch up? Take one of the linemen, offensive linemen, to be clear, in Evan Neal or Ikem / Ike Ekwonu? Or are they going to jump to, the flavor of the week? Trayvon Walker, the DE from Georgia / Thibodeau, who we've been calling ugly. The NFL process has been calling Tibbs ugly for the last 3 months. Like, yeah, we know you're good, but something about you, bro. We don't know. So I in my opinion, those are the choices on the table for the Detroit Lions.
You don't think Malik Willis has a shot?
Personally, I don't. But if you want to discuss, if you want to throw it in there, you can. I at number 2, with the Goff contract, it just seems excessive. For me, it's like, especially with next year being a huge quarterback draft, it feels like the Detroit Lions could take a player that could help them so that next year they could blame it all on Goff, get rid of him, and then draft a quarterback.
I feel like it's difficult for the Lions because they have quite a few needs, obviously quarterback being the number 1 issue, but you mentioned Goff, who's got the contract. So it's going to be hard to just get rid of him unless you do some sort of trade. And I don't think there's any team that's that desperate to take on Jared Goff. So that question, not even that is out of the question. So then it comes down to, do you take one of the defensive ends, as you mentioned, right? Do you take Thibodeau? Do you take Trayvon Walker? Or do you go with an actual need because you had one of the worst secondaries in the NFL last season? So I think there's actually a question if they would go out of what Draft World is considering and go Ahmad Sauce Gardner, and take one of the cornerbacks, because he's, as you mentioned, as we talked about, one of the top cornerbacks in this league. If you are one of the worst defensive back teams, right? They were just a sieve. Everyone was just attacking them left and right. So why not get somebody who's fast, who's got the long arms, who's got the height, and could, be another, I'll say this, not necessarily because he's going to play like him, but another Antonio Cromartie, because he has the height, the length, all that thing, the speed. So he could be like another Antonio Cromartie. You add help to the secondary. They lost Darius Slay not too long ago. Yep. So you might want to just backfill that position, and you can still say, look, we drafted somebody for a positional need, and you can still put blame on Jared Goff. Deal done.
That's fair. Put some pressure under Ikuda. I mean, that for me, I agree with your logic. And Kuiper came out today and he put Sauce Gardner at 2, I think, for the first real mock in a while. So you're on base, right? You have it correct. For me, if I'm the Lions, there's 2 rules of thought. It's either, hey man, Okuda had all the right boxes and it just didn't work out. We can blame it on the injury. This guy has the same boxes and he's going to do great. You know what I mean? That was the one fluke. We can't bust out twice in a top 5 corner, having the same stats, physically gifted, and he has no injury history. One of them is going to work out, kind of put a fire under Ikuda's butt, maybe trade him for something. That's
move him
one
to the number 2.
thought.
Move him to the number 2 spot.
Move him to
And
the
now
number
you
2
have 2.
spot.
Now you have 2 good guys. The other thing with Ikuda too, I think that to keep in mind, when he was starting, he was going up against Allen Robinson, the number 1 guy in Chicago, Justin Jefferson, the number 1 guy in Minnesota, and Devontae Adams, the number 1 guy in Green Bay, twice a season. That's a gauntlet for a rookie on the Detroit Lions. He has no help. He has no secondary help. He has no one passing the rush, rushing the passer. So he's in a tough spot. So Adams is gone. Allen Robinson's gone. So you're in a spot where if you bring in Sauce Gardner as a true number 1, you move him to the number 2. I think these guys have a better shot. I just don't see it because for me, Dan Campbell doesn't seem like a guy that's going to go with the DB. He wants that D lineman. He wants to go after the quarterback. He wants to bite kneecaps or whatever he was talking about in his press conference. So I think more Trayvon Walker for me. Or Kayvon Thibodeau, it depends. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau, he can go anywhere from 1 to 20 at this point. So
Yo, literally,
I have no idea.
There's literally no read on Tibbs.
Point.
Yeah,
there's no read on Tibbs.
Yeah, and Trayvon Walker is shooting up people's boards. So for me, I'm just gonna go Trayvon Walker here. I've seen it so many times. It makes sense. His freak athleticism. It was the second highest RAS score, raw athleticism score since Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett has the plays where he glitches on the screen and stuff like that. So he has a tremendous athleticism. So I could see that if Dan Campbell really gets his guy, starts molding him into what he wants to be, I think it could be a statement pick for him in the number 2 spot. So I'm going with Trayvon Walker here. Obviously, we still got to come to some sort of consensus, but I think it's D lineman at this point for the Lions.
It's funny.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna have a consensus here, guys. We're all picking a different guy. So I agree with your philosophies. I told you we're gonna be consensus. We're gonna have issues with the Lions and the Texans. Right?
Yep.
I told you. I agree. Your secondary help, cool. But you made a good point. All those players are gone. Devontae Adams is gone.
Yeah.
Right. The Vikings stink, even though they have Jefferson. Right. But there's not, the Bears don't have anyone, a quarterback or wide receivers anymore. Like, you don't need to really address that. I agree with, the defensive end situation. But if I'm the Lions, legitimately, I'm wondering, like, do I want to mess up and take either Walker or Tibbs? I just don't know. One of them is going to be a bust. I have this thing when I was going through the last, 20 drafts, looking at the second and third defensive pass rusher chosen. And you'd be surprised how many times it's a bust, man. Very rarely are you finding that the second pass rusher and the third pass rusher are actually turn out to be semi-productive. Forget amazing players, semi-productive. We have Davenport. I think he's the only one that made, some sort of, blink on the radar. So it worries me about that. And that leaves me to, if you're not going to take the best defensive pass rusher, if taking a DB is too high, I think you're going to go with one of the offensive linemen. You're the Detroit Lions. You have nothing going on, right? You're not going to win this year. You know it. You're almost waiting for Aaron Rodgers to get old. Your quarterback stinks. So, match him up with you got Sewell as a right tackle. He's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
And, now you could fill it out. You have a wide receiver. He's okay. You signed, DJ Chark to go around with Amon St. Brown. He's okay. Josh Reynolds, he's all right. DeAndre Swift. I mean, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, they killed it as running backs last year. And so if that's their bread and butter, give them an offensive lineman. Give them, I know they have Taylor Decker as their left tackle, but he's supposed to be the best player in the draft. I want him to fall to 4. I just don't think it's going to happen. So if I'm Detroit, I'm going to think about Ikem. I'm going to think about Neal. So does that change in any of the 3 for you guys? Because I don't have this huge preference here, but I know if I'm Detroit, I'm just going to I'll close my eyes and take an offensive lineman. And just, it's going to take you at least 5 years to figure out that he stinks, right, on the Detroit Lions. So just I'll just put him there, and just wait, because they have some draft picks. And if they could run the ball, if they could play sneaky good defense, they got, they could sneak out some wins, in my opinion.
I feel like for the Lions, though, after having such a bad season, you lost Matthew Stafford, who kept you relevant for so many years. I don't think you could play it safe as the Detroit Lions, especially with the number 2 pick. I think you have to take one of the defensive ends at minimum. So it's either Trayvon Walker or Kayvon Thibodeau, honestly, in my opinion.
Okay, that's fine. Let's pick one.
I feel like I'm going to go with this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Walker. I'm going to go with Trayvon Walker.
All right, that's consensus.
Just to keep this thing moving.
I was really hoping you didn't say Tibbs and made me choose one, because I know I'm going to pick the wrong one. So I'm glad you made that easy for me. I feel like the Lions here. If I'm the Lions here, I'm like, damn it, dude. Damn it. Honestly, damn it.
Does anyone want to trade? Does anyone want the second pick?
Yeah. I'm annoyed right now, because I'm taking offensive lineman. I'm taking offensive lineman. So I'm with you guys. Defensive pass rusher, both these guys. Tibbs has been the consensus best pass rusher all season long until the season literally ended. And then all of a sudden he's not anymore. So there's that. And then Walker's the exact opposite. Walker, yes, he played in the SEC. He looks like a beast. He's going to be good. But he had some good players next to him. Right? When you watch that tape, he had like 8 first and second rounders on that defense with him. So I'm with you guys. I'll go with Trayvon Walker, but to be honest with you, that just feels like a bust Lions pick. But I'm down. I'll take that for the 2. I'll take that for the 2.
Maybe he just fakes that he's a bust. Jets get him on the cheap and then wait. No, it's fine.
I mean, honestly, like the fact that there's so much smoke, like it's prime for the Lions and the Texans to mess up. It's prime. Like there's so much smoke. Everybody's everywhere. Right, people are moving up, as we said. Trayvon Walker jumped up in mock drafts this week. Sauce Gardner jumped all the way up this week. Like there's plenty of mistakes to be made here, in my opinion. Which is no slight to these players, but that jumps up to the Texans at 3 guys. Like okay, so now we have Hutchinson off the board. We got Walker off the board. 2 defensive ends in a row. Right, ESPN people are going crazy right now. Right, I'm on Twitter because I'm at MetLife. Everyone's freaking out. And now the Texans are on board. Are you going to tell me the Texans are not going to take an offensive lineman either?
I think they take. I think they take offensive.
They're taking offensive. They're taking.
Thank God.
They're taking offensive lineman. No.
Are they going to take my guy? Are they going to take my guy? Or are they going to take? See, another position where Evan Neal, consensus best offensive lineman all year long, right? And now, ever since the draft, ever since the Senior Bowl, consensus best player in the entire draft is Ikem. I don't want to see the Jets put that on the map, but from my perspective, the Jets were the first people to say we love him. Then all of a sudden, he was the best player available. If you're the Texans, are you going with the SEC guy, with the Nick Saban guy, Evan Neal, or are you going to jump with the NC State guy? Believe your scouts and just roll with the interchangeable guy on the offensive lineman who. Again, consensus number 1.
You're keeping this safe. You're the Houston Texans. You need legitimate. You need this roster is complete crap. Like let's not sugarcoat it. It is complete crap. You need to start building from the ground up. You're going to take
the Jets. The Jets pick 1 pick after them, so just chill out.
I'm just saying. Well, the Jets are not as in bad shape as the Houston Texans. Okay, they need to pick. They need a legitimate, safe pick that they know it can actually transpire into something. And I think there's nothing more secure than an offensive lineman coming from an SEC program from Nick Saban. So I'm going to take Evan Neal with this position. Okay. And I think you just call it a day from that point. Honestly,
move him to right.
Texans.
You're going to move him to right and line him up across from Tunsil?
Yeah, it doesn't matter at this point. Honestly, if you're the Texans, you just draft Neal and you figure it out later.
He's played guard too at some point. So he could play guard, he could play inside, he could play outside. For me, I think I'm going icky for them. I mean, if I'm them, I'm so,
hurts.
They're such in a bad spot that you guys swing for the fences. Hopefully I think both these guys are going to be really good, but I think to your point, John, Daniel Jeremiah, I'm looking at here is his number 2 prospect. He's just
everybody, bro.
Everyone. He's either number 1, number 2 guy. So I think you take him. He's played tackle. I think he can play guard. And I think he's fine. The only thing that obviously worries me a little bit, smaller school. So maybe he didn't play against the high-end competition that Evan Neal did. But I think you just...
Lovie Smith? Does that change anything for you? Man. Remember, it's Lovie Smith.
No, I don't think it changes anything.
Defensive guy? No?
No.
And that's why I think...
Go for it, Alex.
No, go ahead. Finish, Greg. Finish.
I just think they need to... When you're building an NFL roster, at least from what I believe, is you build it on the line, and it starts on the offensive line. You need to have your guys protected so your quarterback can do something, and then you go to the defensive line. So if you're really starting from scratch, kind of like Houston is, you have to start with building the offensive line first, and then you move to the defensive line. Kind of like hopefully we're doing, where we figured out our offensive line to the point where we feel confident with that, and now hopefully we start moving to this defensive line, and we get some players here.
So the last thing I'm going to say, go ahead. No, I want me to give you Lovie Smith's quote before you go or no? He had a quote yesterday. Yeah, I think you want it, right? So He said on Sports Radio 610 Houston, he said, well, quote, well, we're looking at the roster right now, and you see who we have there, and you also see who are playing at the cornerback position. We can't play the type of football that we want to play until we get better at the cornerback position. I will say that. Literally his quote, end quote from Coach Lovie Smith. So he's the defensive guy from the Bears. Again, it's me. You're asking me. I'm taking offensive lineman, but I'm just wondering. You put it at the top. What is Lovie Smith gonna do?
Here's the thing. That could be smoke because I don't think everyone wants to know what they're thinking too. Because Evan Neal, like if you're talking about how the draft is with the Lions and the Texans. Everything's gonna be kind of figured out after them for like the Jets to some degree, not fully, but to some degree.
3-13, bro. Texans are 3-13. Like just like the Jets are 4-10, 3-13. They control this draft,
right?
Bro.
Right. No, they control this draft, but I think for them, unlike the Lions, who need we know what they have specific needs, right? Texans kind of need everything.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. If you need everything, there's no way you're saying, all right, we're going to take a defensive back because we got to protect from these touchdowns. Like if you got no D-line, if your quarterback can't score because you got no offensive line. I agree with Greg. You got to start with the offensive line first. Just make sure you have something solidified so that your quarterback, at least whoever you have back there, is able to move the ball down the field and feel somewhat competent. And this is where I disagree with Greg, though, is that I don't think you want to go hitting it out of the get a home run your first draft pick. I think you want to play it safe. Like you legitimately need everything. I think you need to play it safe, take Neal, because if you're going for IK and just trying to go for the moon at this point, if he doesn't work out, that sets you back. That legitimately sets you back. So that's why I think you got to go with a safe pick, take Neal, and you keep it pushing, and you just don't think twice about it.
Okay, so, I'm going to subscribe to your this is smoke. It's smoke season. Right? I've been saying this is smoke season, and the guy is literally on the radio saying the word cornerback. I mean, what else do you want? I mean, it's like...
Hey, man, when you start building a football roster, you take a cornerback first. Sir, what if you have what if you need a quarterback? No. We need a cornerback. They don't even have a quarterback.
Well, he said he believes. No. He said he believes in Mr. David Sims.
Mills.
I don't even Mills.
Davis Mills, right?
Davis Mills. Yeah, my head is not football season right now. Yeah. David Smells. He likes him.
It's baseball season right now.
yeah, he likes him. Blake Snell.
Sure.
He said he likes him and he believes in him. And honestly, for what he was dealt last year, dude, for what he was dealt last year,
yes.
And for what position he was taking, dude, he killed it last year. Honestly, yeah, and he was supposed to be literally on the worst team of all time, Texans. Yeah. Not hey, they're pretty bad, and he showed out. The guy took Rex Grossman to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He had a defense and he bought That's probably what he's thinking. Dude, I've had a Rex Grossman. I just need a cornerback. Yeah. I just need defense. I don't care. So I'm gonna roll with Ikem. All right, you got Alex had Neal, Greg had Ikem. We've discerned that they're throwing out some smoke about the cornerback position. Because we're not going to get to 13 here, we're only going to top 10 for our purposes. I believe that the Texans at 13 are going to take Derek Stingley. I think that's their pick. I don't think Stingley is going past 13. And, when the numbers come out, the bets still haven't come out. We're going to do a Winning Picks Weekly episode on it. This is going to be one of my big ones, man. Stingley, under 13.5. That's, if I could find that, that's going to be my number. Jumping to the reason why we're all here. Tension is going to be high. Jets sitting at number 4. Hutchinson gone. Walker gone. 2 top defensive ends. And then the Jets offensive lineman guy, their guy, Ikem, is gone. For me, that throws off Neal. Neal's off the board. For me, Hamilton's off the board because of his 40. at number 4. They're just off the board over here. So for me, guys, it comes down to 2 choices. Gardner or Tibbs. What do you guys got? Or if you guys have a different, opinion, let me know. But for me, those are the 2 choices for the defensive head coach.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking. I'm thinking the same thing. I mean, Sauce, I think, presents obviously some upside, helps us out with the number 1 cornerback position, allows us to get better coverage down the field so we can pressure the quarterback. But if you don't have good pass rushers, then you can't really pressure the quarterback, even if your coverage is good, if that makes sense. So for me, I lean Thibodeau in this. I'm kind of with you that it's really down to those 2 guys. So this is the way the draft breaks. I don't think that there's another player outside of Sauce.
If Sauce goes 3, and Raisi Mobele was just like, bro, I told you. I literally came out and I told you I'm taking a quarterback. Why did you believe me? And he takes, Sauce at 3. And assuming we were right about 1 and 2, whether it's Walker or Tibbs, for me, it's 100% IChem here. There's no question. I think that Joe Douglas is going to laugh in his One Jets Drive video when IChem is sitting there, like maniacally laugh.
When the Vikings, when the Eagles took Jalen Reagor or whatever, the Vikings guys just started chuckling and they took Justin Jefferson next pick. Yeah. I think so too. I agree with you 100%. I think if IChem's there, we take him. Yeah, we have 2 tackles. Yeah, we have 2 guards, but we don't know what Becton's going to be week 1. We don't know what Fant's going to be long term. We don't know what Becton's going to be long term. And I really do believe that IChem is the number 1 or number 2 prospect in this draft. So I agree with that. But for this sake, he's not here. So I'm going Thibodeau. I think there's a lot of smoke around him. I mean, he said some things in some press conferences that maybe didn't come off great. And, at the combine, he said he was going to do workouts, and he ended up not doing the workouts. Okay, but I don't like.
I'm talking smack about him, bro.
I don't like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like that, but still, I like what I see on the field. He gets after the quarterback, tons of pressures, tons of sacks. I mean,
that's in Oregon.
Yeah, to me it is okay in Oregon because I think Oregon's a big enough platform where they play big opponents, they play in big time games. Again, a little bit of the injury concern with him as well, but again, the number 1 prospect all season long until the season ended. I love that because it was totally true. So I'm going with him in this spot for me. We have to get after the quarterback. We brought in a couple guys, we retained a couple guys, we're getting a couple guys back healthy, but we need
our big guy.
Yeah,
we're signing Carl Lawson this year. In my brain, Carl Lawson, we signed him to a free agent contract.
You don't know what he's going to be like week 1. You don't know if he's going to come out to a slow start. He's going to need a breather here and there. So we brought in a couple other defensive ends, and I think we add one here with Thibodeau to complement what we have so far and get our defensive coach, his true defensive guy, finally in the draft.
All right. Alex, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Thibodeau as well. I think it's.
Oh, damn! Yeah. I am outmarked by our own rules. So I guess we'll go on Tibbs, but let me hear it, Alex.
So here's the thing. For Thibodeau, I think Greg said it perfectly. Want to get off to the quarterback, right? You can have a good defensive back, but if you don't have the pressure, what good is the defensive back? And we can, as much as the rules have changed to make this an offensive heavy league, we can still go back to when the Giants were in the Super Bowl and they had a dominant front. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that still applies to today. If you can still get to the quarterback and bring that pressure, then it makes your life for the secondary a lot easier. And sure, we got DJ on the one side who's going to be our 1. And there's talks about whether or not Bryce Hall, you could talk about Brendan Eccles and seeing if those guys are actually 2s. Maybe they're 2s, but they're more 3s right now. Well, I think you can get by with them being more so 3s and not really 2s if you have a good front. And so at this point, you have Kayvon Thibodeau, who's left on the board. I think you go with that direction, especially with his intangibles, his physical ability. I don't think you pass up on the guy like this, especially for Robert Saleh, who needs somebody on the line, especially since we lost Carl Lawson, right? I think there's question on how good is he going to be coming back off an Achilles tear. I think you need some more reassurance, too, on that front. So might as well just go Thibodeau, especially if he's there, and just make it just that simple for him.
All right. I mean, that's fair. I subscribe to the philosophy. If I'm Joe Douglas, I'm not taking Tibbs here because I think that Jermaine Johnson is going to be there at 10, right? If you have Hutchinson, Walker, Tibbs all are going in the top 9. And then you still have other names out there, like 2 offensive linemen. You have a Gardner, you have Hamilton, you have maybe even Stingley. You have a couple quarterbacks that are rumored. You have wide receivers that are out there, like Drake London, right? I would just be like, hey, like we're gonna get a pass rusher at number 10. You know, whether if we don't choose Tibbs is still gonna be on the board, and Jermaine Johnson's still gonna be on the board. One of those guys will fall to 10. That'll be my philosophy. Obviously, for our purposes, we're taking Tibbs. But if it wasn't a consensus pod and we're sitting here, it's impossible for me to believe we're not taking Sauce Gardner.
The only thing I'll say about that, John, is I think, I don't know, I think that people have just mocked it and talked about it so much. Joe Douglas has told you, and Robert Saleh has have told us, we don't value the cornerback position like other teams do.
Yes.
They showed us via drafts that they draft cornerbacks in the 3rd, 4th round. I think there's a shot we take someone maybe in the 2nd, but maybe more likely in the 3rd or 4th. I think that Joe Douglas is the type of guy that just shoots it straight, man. He's like, yo, we don't believe in the position like other teams believe in the position. And they've shown it through drafts. They've shown it through acquisitions. They didn't go out and sign big name guys, or big contract guys, I should say, at the cornerback position.
They really have.
Yeah.
That's probably the one thing I'll say about Joe Douglas. Unlike, there's some smoke, but there's not a lot of smoke where he's trying to confuse people. I think he says, like, he legit says, like, we're not going to overspend for positions. Like, he says, we'll revisit it, all these type of things. He keeps it very vanilla when it comes to, like, even when it came to, like, Jamal Adams, like, we want to keep Jamal Adams here. Like, okay, that's general talk. It's like, there's still negotiations, right? It's like the negotiations, like, we're not going to pay everything for a safety, but we're going to try to see if we can retain him.
Bro, I believe in Joe Douglas during those negotiations, and not because of what he got from the trade. But, dude, Jamal Adams, right? He said, keep it, playa. That's still his main phrase. And that was directed towards Joe Douglas because they got pissed off at each other. He said, I'm going to pay you. And then the contract offer came too late in his eyes. And then he said, keep it, playa. So, Joe Douglas, to your point, Alex, he kept his promise. Like, at the end of the day, he did say, yo, I'm going to pay this guy. And he did. It was too late. You know what I mean? In Adams' eyes, is what it is.
Yeah, so that's why I think when I look at Joe Douglas and seeing how he reads, like, I remember just writing a whole thing for Empire Writes Back and going down everything, even when he was talking about Quincy Enunwa, how he liked Quincy Enunwa and he wanted Quincy Enunwa here. There was no real guarantee that he was going to keep Quincy. He valued him for sure, but you heard that, like, he valued him. Yeah. And then you see that, like, he values people, but he's never going to say, like, oh yeah, I'm going to overvalue you. And I don't think he's going to be that type of GM. He's showing that he's not that type of GM just to be like, yeah, we're going to give it because whatever we need to. It's like, I have a philosophy. I believe in my philosophy. I'll tell you my philosophy. And I think, as Greg pointed out, if he doesn't value the cornerback position that much, now I will say that unless he sees that top end talent,
sure,
and unless you believe Sauce Gardner is that top end talent, then I'm sure that he would go out and go get him. But if he doesn't view Gardner that way, I don't see him spending a 4th rounder on him. I think he'll look at Thibodeau and say, I think he's looking at Jermaine Johnson just because if we don't get Tibbs for whatever reason, right? If he's not there and maybe he's higher on Tibbs more so than Trayvon Walker or vice versa, who we don't know, right? If we don't get him, then we'll try to get Jermaine Johnson in the 10th, and we'll figure out how we're going to tackle the 4th.
That's the thing, that at 10, the other options kind of dwindle, right? So let's move on here, right? We have so far our top 4 is Hutchinson, Walker, Ikem, and Tibbs.
Yep.
I'm hoping that's not how it goes again. But now we're sitting at 5 because I think the Giants are either going to get Neal or Tibbs. If Tibbs is gone, to me, it's Evan Neal. Those are the 2 most New York Giants players I've ever seen in my life.
Ikem is gone. I'm going Neal.
I'm going Neal.
For the sake of it, I'm going Neal. I'm going. The Giants need offensive line help. Like, we had JD on this pod. He was like, line. I think it's Neal for this one. If that's the case.
A perfect draft for the Giants, in my perspective, is Neal at 5 and Tibbs at 7. That's a perfect draft for the New York Giants. I honestly hope it does fall for them like that. But of course, for our purposes, Neil, the 5 pick, easy. Greg, are you on that too?
100%. I think they need someone to go with Andrew Thomas, so you just package that up with Evan Neal. You got 2 good bookends, and you're building something there. So I'm with you.
Fair. All right. Moving on to number 6. Sorry, New York Giants fans, just an easy pick there. Number 6, Carolina Panthers, our arch nemesis. If you haven't heard it, well, because the only good win they had against us was last year, and it was a Darnold to Robbie Anderson touchdown. all a mess. I hate them. Anyway, Matt Rule. We should have got him. I can't wait till this year. We should have kept Todd Bowles. All this nonsense coming our way. Anyway, number 6, Carolina Panthers. You have to take Malik Willis, right? You have to. You have to take the quarterback out of Liberty. You have to. You have nothing. Listen, no free ads, but Sam Darnold on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast was one of my favorite interviews with a active roster quarterback, I think, in my whole life. He was so real and raw about, the Jets fans and Jets. He's like, dude, I'm going to a store. And the guy's like, oh, what's your problem? He's like, dude.
Dude, why'd you throw it to that guy who was wide open?
Yeah, he was so real on that, right? Talking about such a laid back West Coast guy. It's a great interview, but it looks like they're moving off of Sam Darnold, man. You got bench. They brought in Cam Newton, who can't throw, to play over him. Oh. They got bench for PJ Walker.
Ridiculous.
Dude, this is tough. It has to be Malik Willis, right, guys?
Yes.
For all the reasons. Greg doesn't like his hand size. I know it. I can see in his eyes.
I just have a tough time with it just because Matt Rule is so on the hot seat right now that if he comes out and loses 4 games, it's like, dude, you're gone. So,
but if I have a new quarterback, I'd be like, bro, I got a rookie quarterback.
You get some time.
Do you?
The only thing that gets you, the only thing that guarantees you time is a new quarterback.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Because nobody said a word about Robert Saleh. Our defense was horrific last year. Nobody said a word about him because of Zach Wilson.
Yeah, but that was his first year. Last year was Rule's second year, and it stunk the first year. It started out hot last year, and then it just fell apart.
That's because they played the Jets, bro.
But it fell apart because I really do believe. I mean, obviously, it was what's his name getting hurt, the running back there going down. But also too, I think J.C. Horn going down. I think that played a huge role. So I think there's a legit shot here that.
My boy Shaq Thompson.
Yeah, well, if you're
remember every game he was out, they sucked. Every game that he played well.
Yeah, if they're at the spot, I think there's a legit shot at Sauce Gardner here. I know it's not popular. I know it's really not getting mocked everywhere. Everyone's just laying up Malik Willis, and I'm just like, dude, this guy needs to win right now. He needs to come out and start out with 2-1. So
who's his quarterback?
You know what?
Sam Darnold.
You know what?
Dude,
I take back.
No way. Okay, I love Sam. Again, I'm back on this. I love Sam Darnold thing, even though whatever. I get it. He's not the best quarterback of the draft. I get it. Josh Allen was number 1, Lamar Jackson number 2, and now we're fighting with the 3-4 with Baker. I'm just so happy that we're fighting whether it's Darnold or Baker still. I know it's not at the top, but now it's at the bottom. All right, and you were totally right about Josh Rosen, and I was totally wrong. I'm with all of that. I just do not see them putting Sam Darnold. You talk about getting fired. You get fired by putting Sam Darnold there as a quarterback week 1. Because if you are bad even to week 3, it's over. You're like, bro, you do the same thing. Your wide receiver hates him. We all hate him. It's not going to work out. But now you got Malik Willis. You're like, oh, look, it's not my fault. He learned in the offense. We had some injuries, right? Jace Horn, Shaq Thompson. We re-signed Thompson. Jace Horn's coming back. That would be my philosophy. Especially if you're Matt Rule, you don't give a damn about cornerbacks, bro. At the end of the day, Matt Rule he's not even gonna talk to him. Literally, he's not even gonna talk to Ahmad Gardner for his whole career. So I do feel like taking an offensive guy, Matt Rule, you mold him towards me because I'm sure he's been crying all season last year. This quarterback sucks. He can't read my he can't read my offense. I don't know what to do with him. He can't learn. PJ Walker, Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, those are easy targets here. But if you get your own guy, you get 1 or 2 years and you figure it out. But I'm taking Malik and you're taking Gardner. And Alex, you're the tiebreaker, taking Malik?
Yeah, I'm taking Malik. But I want to just clarify for my thing, because I said usually a rookie quarterback gets you some time. And then it just brought me back to actually Todd Bowles, where he didn't get time with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he does it?
Sam Darnold for 1 year. And then, but I will say he's a defensive guy. Case, he's a defensive guy, one, yes. Two, the other thing is that he went 5-11, 5-11, 4-12 within that 3 years. So kind of can't really say, hey, man, bringing it back. Granted, they didn't do a damn thing for him. They gave him Fitz, they gave him McCown, and they gave him Darnold. I feel like, yeah. But also, it was like there was one more year left on Todd Bowles' contract after that first year with Sam Darnold. And the whole thought process was, let's bring in a guy who's offensive driven to help Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
They have the offensive guy in Carolina with Matt Rule, and they've legitimately gave him Teddy Bridgewater for 1 season, Sam Darnold for another season. And now you would say, all right, well, we tried Sam Darnold, we tried Teddy Bridgewater. This will be your guy. Is this your guy? And if you're going to draft him in here, if you bring him in, this would have to be Matt Rule has to at least have like 2 years. And like your first year, you'd be like, all right, first year trying to get him antiquated. Second year would be the determining year if this kid could play. But I'm gonna go with the quarterback. I don't see how Carolina. I think Carolina needs to figure out that issue, and I don't think they have they don't have the patience to really say, let's do Sam Darnold again for another year, because then you're also wasting a year of Matt Rule, and then you have to just determine if you want to keep Matt Rule, and if Matt Rule is the actual guy. So I think you gotta go with the quarterback this time.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's we're gonna move off of this, but it's you guys are perfectly hit it, dude. It's the Todd Bowles situation, right? Yeah. Just the offensive guy. So if you have Malik Willis, and then C-Mac, his contract, the dead cap falls off significantly. You can move off Robbie Anderson. You can move off the coach, right? And you're obviously going to be a top pick, right? Quarterback heavy draft, right? So if Malik Willis doesn't work, you can be your backup, right? PJ Walker is we're kind of getting to an end there on that whole project. So, I agree with you guys, and this has nothing to do with Matt Rule. At the end of the day, like he can easily be fired next year, and I think he will, because I don't think Malik Willis is the answer by any stretch of the means. Which goes to our number 7 Giants, which I think this is their second best draft, or especially that all Giants fans want. I mean, Giants fans listening to this right now, they are super hyped because they got Neal, and now they're going with Sauce Gardner, the number 1 cornerback in the league. In the draft, they lost Bradbury, right, who I was talking smack about. I was very wrong on that. He had a wonderful year, right, and he's still a free agent. So I think so. Looking forward to where he goes. He's not going to be a Giant though. Sauce Gardner, man, this is easy for me. If I'm the Giants, I am sprinting. I'm sprinting to put in this card. What about you guys?
This is actually interesting because the Giants' needs are offensive line, linebacker, and edge. They actually do need a pass rusher. Could the Giants be this team, which may be the reason why Thibodeau is actually a good pick for the Jets, that take Jermaine Johnson? Could the Giants be that team to do it?
It's too hard for me to personally believe that 4 pass rushers, 2 of which were not even projected top 10 picks, are going to go in front of Sauce Gardner. And Malik Willis has no business being in the top 10. It's a complete need.
I will say this, and we always know it happens every draft.
I know. Alex Longwood, right? Leatherwood.
There's somebody that comes out of nowhere that you're like, word? This is the guy that you wanted? I'm going to do that.
Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas for the Giants.
Yeah, you hit that nice prop on that. That was a nice plus money. That was a big plus money one. That was a big plus money one.
I will never forget Andrew Thomas to the Giants.
Same.
Well, we're doing it again. We're going to take – I feel like the Giants are going to be the 4th team to take a defensive end. I'm going to go Jermaine Johnson for this one.
That's wild. All right. What do you got, Greg?
I don't know. I'm at a tough spot here because I'm also looking at Kyle Hamilton a little bit, and it's like, hey, maybe we go with that dynamic safety
They do need
Jabril
they do
Peppers.
need a DB.
Jabril Peppers isn't you think it's haunting them a little bit?
Yeah, that's true.
Landon Collins.
That's true too. Yeah, but it's like Jabril Peppers, no, but Collins, it's like, hey, when he was here and he was doing good, he was doing good. So I don't know. I guess I want to say Jermaine Johnson in my heart, but I think I'm going to go with my head. I think I'm going to go cornerback and Sauce Gardner. Also because I want him at 10 and I don't think he's going to be there. And it would just be such a Giants move to take the guy that I want. He's going to be like an all-time cornerback, and he's going to be great for the next 10 years. So, and they need him. I mean, they're another one where that division is so weird, where they just have Dallas Cowboys who are just, I feel like, loaded up on wide receivers. But then you have the Eagles who maybe they load up this year, so maybe you do have 2 or 3 guys you need to cover. And then Washington is Terry McLaurin. But then again, who else do they really have?
I feel like you can't look at the NFC East, bro. You can't look at the other teams. Like, we all suck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all, let's just,
still,
like,
you play him 6 times
stay in your own lane. Stay in your own lane here if I'm the Giants. Like, bro, everybody stinks. Let's just see how we can fix ourselves.
Yeah, true.
You know?
Yeah.
Almost like the Jets, where it's like everybody's good. Let's just worry about ourselves, bro. The Bills are really good. They're projected to do this. The Patriots are the Patriots. The Dolphins keep, getting all these assets. Let's just, we haven't beat them in 2 years. Let's just work on us,
I'm with you.
Like
So
the people talking about we need a cornerback to guard Tyreek Hill. Like, I literally stopped listening as soon as that sentence is made. I'm like, bro, if you think the Jets are that worried about Tyreek Hill that we're going to change our draft philosophy, and if you think that a rookie cornerback is going to guard Tyreek Hill, like, you are off your rocker,
NFL
bro.
vets can't do it, so why is a rookie going to do it? I don't know. So I'm with you that. Let's go Sauce Gardner here just because I think it's the best player available almost in a sense.
All right, so our first 7, Hutch, Walker, Ikem, Tibbs, Neal, Malik Willis, Sauce Gardner. Brings us to number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, there's plenty of picks here. From my perspective, from the mock perspective, it's really Jermaine Johnson or Hamilton. Right? Have you guys seen any other mocks here?
Oh, yeah. Wide receiver, man. Drake London, Garrett
Wilson. Thank you. We're going wide receiver for this one.
They have nobody to throw.
They have nobody.
Yeah, but who's gonna throw? Who's gonna throw to him?
They got Marcus Mariota.
Baby. Marcus Mariota's about to start slinging it.
All right.
But seriously, though, they obviously...
You call me when Mariota's slinging anything, bro.
I don't even know who their backup is. I have no idea.
Dude, they are in turmoil, bro.
Felipe Franks is the backup quarterback.
Listen, you do not bring a wide receiver.
Is that Florida State standout Felipe Franks?
Yes, I think
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't bring a wide receiver into that hellhole.
I think you have to, man. I think you have to.
I think you got to regardless, man. You can't. Can we keep it a buck? You can't give Marcus Mariota nothing and be like, well, Marcus Mariota sucks. It's like, I would look at around the field and be like, bro, who's here for me to throw to? Like, legitimately, who is here for me? Who do I have? Like
Kyle Pitts.
I would say I'm looking it up right now because I don't even know who their wide receivers are.
Because Russell Gage is gone.
Russell Gage is gone. Obviously,
you got. These names. I just pulled it up. These names I have no idea. Cardero Hodge, Demiri Bird, and Olamide Zacchaeus.
He killed last year. He was all right.
Yeah.
He got on the board.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's Cordarrelle Patterson. It's Cordarrelle Patterson and Kyle Pitts. That's the squad.
Yeah. So and Auden Tate.
Is Patterson even on that team still? I thought he's gone.
Who? No, they re-signed Patterson, didn't they?
Okay.
They re-signed Patterson. So. They got Mike Davis. They got Damian Williams. Like, they got a bunch of running backs. They got Mariota. Like, you want to ask? I might have been 1 year off with the Atlanta Falcons being the worst team in the league. I am 100% going to bet it again this year. They ripped out my heart in London. I saw it. I got it. But I do not believe in this team at all. If I'm them, I am not taking a wide receiver. You take a wide receiver within the next 4 years, you're going to pay him? You're not going to be a winning team in 4 years. You have Marcus Mariota. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's your guy.
But you still actually, if anything, if you draft a wide receiver, he doesn't produce, you're like, well, why do I have to pay you? And then you bring your quarterback, you have him for another contract.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
And that's true. And that logic's gonna be true with any player that you bring in. It's like until they figure out their quarterback. That's why I think a little bit about Malik.
No one's
Willis
gonna
for
thrive.
Detroit.
No one's gonna thrive on this team. It doesn't. Honestly, no one's gonna thrive on this team. Look at the whole situation.
Jermaine Johnson not gonna thrive on this team.
Maybe because he's gonna be on the field so much.
He's going to be on the field exactly for the entire game. How's that even going to help him? Man, it doesn't matter who you draft.
They have a good
doesn't matter
defense.
who you draft at this point.
Do they?
They played okay last year. Their linebackers were, alive.
Their
safeties came back at the end.
And well, there you go. You're answering yourself. They have
Grady
a decent
Jarrett,
defense.
Million years old.
You're answering this though. They have a decent defense. So then why not go to the other side of the ball where you got legitimately Cordero Patterson and Mike Davis running your offense? Sure.
Yeah, I mean they took Kyle Pitts last year. He turns out to be I mean, I was on the fence about Kyle Pitts in fantasy leagues because I was looking at the top rookie tight ends and how they did. And I was like, if this guy has the most amazing tight end year, top 5, he's just gonna have a decent fantasy year. It's not gonna be that okay. And he did. He did have a top 5 tight end year, and it was a decent. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very mediocre, and they moved the needle nowhere. Like nowhere.
But that
and now they don't have a quarterback, bro. Mariota can't. Guys, like, what are we talking about?
Do you think there's
we're not talking about
Pickett? Do you think they go Kenny Pickett?
I would rather take. Oh man, because if I'm the Falcons, the next year's draft is just so good filled with quarterbacks.
That's why you take Garrett Wilson and you take C.J. Stroud next year, and you're good to go, baby. You're locked and loaded.
If you take a quarterback next season, why not get them a wide receiver because it takes time for a wide receiver to even get acclimated to the system anyway.
There's receivers. There's receivers in this draft. I mean, I get that you guys.
But we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons, man. We're not acting like this is like a smart organization. Come on now.
They did draft Pitts, and they did make Cordero Patterson
was that
the
a
best
smart
player
move?
in the league.
But was that a smart move to draft Kyle Pitts last season? Like he's a very talented tight end.
Pretty good. He was their only pass catcher at one point.
So what are you going to do? You're going to rely on your tight end again?
Yeah. I mean, listen,
I think they go wide receiver.
They have the 43rd pick. They have the 43rd pick. That's their next pick. So it's middle second round.
Yeah. So I'm going wide receiver, but I'm going Drake London. I think he's the first wide receiver off the board. Big body guy. Maybe gives you some Julio vibes a little bit. 88 catches in 8 games. Everyone says that. Has a lot of drops, though, so he has to figure that out.
Yeah, but it's in USC, bro.
Yeah.
Who doesn't catch passes in the I don't know, man. The Pac-12 scares the hell out of me. Wide receivers in the Pac-12, like Juju Smith is the best one like we've ever seen, and he's okay. We didn't want him this year. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
You're going Drake London.
What are you going, Alex? You're going to control this draft because I'm going Jermaine Johnson.
I'm not going Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm going Garrett Wilson. I'm going Ohio State with this one for the Atlanta Falcons. Going wide receiver.
If you guys are going to go wide receivers,
tie break us, John. Tie break it.
I'll break it with London because I think he's a number 1 wide receiver taken in this draft. So by that logic, he'll go first. But in my opinion, guys, and not relevant anymore for our purposes here, but just for draft purposes, there's so many wide receivers. And the difference between the number 1 wide receiver and the number 5 wide receiver, to me, is really not that much. And 97% going to depend on the team and how they scheme him. Like, they're just not that good. There's no Justin Jefferson. There's no Jamar Chase. They're just not there.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I agree with all that. And which is why I keep saying for the Jets, like, I do not see them taking a wide receiver within that range. I look at it for the Falcons, though, like, and their need. If their defense is more set than their offense, and you got to give Marcus Mariota more than just Mike Davis, Cordero Patterson, and Kyle Pitts. That's the only reason I'm saying they're going wide receiver at this point. It could be anybody. It could be even Jamison Williams, all right? But I'm just saying they're just taking a wide receiver. I don't really care who it is. They're just taking a wide receiver because they need one.
Okay. So we're going to go London here at 8. Rounding out 2 more picks here for our top 10 NFL mock draft. Make sure to subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think is crazy here. Definitely check us out on Apple, Spotify.
Was Drake London a crazy pick? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know what you think about the Falcons. And I know that, wide receiver is big contentious for number 10. So everyone's pissed off right now, right? Because they want Drake London at 10. So we'll see what happens. We're sitting at 9. We got the rival Seattle Seahawks, another team that we have made a rival of just by our trades. Talk about a team that needs everything. This team needs everything. Pete Carroll, right? Like, where's Pete Carroll thinking? Because he looks like he's at the end of his career here.
Yeah.
He's taking off shirts, matching DK Metcalf.
Yeah, that was like years ago. You know? He really, I mean, he traded for a safety and paid him a lot of money. That was all him. Like, he is the leader over there. He got rid of Russell Wilson. That's all him. He's got some picks next year. He's got Drake Lock. I'm confused here, guys. I don't know. Like,
Call him Drake Lock.
Yeah, Drake Lock, Drew Lock, young Jeezy, whatever you want to call the guy. I don't know what I'm doing here if I'm Seattle. Honestly, I'd probably close my eyes, take Stingley if I feel like it, because I just lost DJ Reed, right? And I'm working on some, I don't know.
Is Jermaine Johnson still on the board?
Jermaine Johnson's still there. You could take him.
I think I'm going to take Jermaine Johnson because they need an edge rusher. I think that's the bet for me.
Or if they are going to trade DK and Lockett's contract's crazy for the next 2 years, they could take a wide receiver and then basically get rid of Metcalf for free.
Could
I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I'm Seattle. Honestly, they need everything and nothing is there.
They're a big question mark. They need a quarterback, edge. They need a cornerback. They need offensive line. Like they're kind of all over the place. I'm gonna go with edge though.
Do you think early mock drafts had like Penning jumping up here, and he's getting some some more news? Do you think that there's a sneaky offensive lineman like Leatherwood? Like what do you got, Greg?
What
do you say, Alex?
Yeah, Alex, go for
it. I was thinking about Kyle Hamilton, but they got
I forgot about Kyle Hamilton. Safety. But Kyle Hamilton and Jamal Adams.
That would be
something. I was thinking about that for a hot second. I was like, no, they got Jamal.
That would be something. The only name that's sticking out to me when
pay one, draft one, bro.
Facts. Cut down those costs. The only name that's sticking out to me a little bit right now, honestly, I could see Jermaine Johnson for sure. I could also maybe see Charles Cross.
That's what I'm saying. Like a lineman, like Cross was rumored to go to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Right?
Cross is a good one too.
If they take a Malik Willis, Cross could go to the Seahawks. We keep taking their offensive linemen. They probably need some.
Exactly. So, I think they have a rookie.
They've had like one of the worst offensive lines in like so long.
We saw Russell Wilson getting his ass kicked all year, running for his life for
that's why he left, bro.
Seasons. Yeah, so
that's why he left.
I think
that's why a top 10 quarterback left.
Yeah, it's terrible. You hate to see it.
I don't know. Derek Carr getting paid like a top 10 quarterback. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't want to even go there. That's a whole other episode.
Why did we even talk about that?
That's all I'm gonna say.
Getting paid like a top 10 guy, probably because he is a top 10 guy. Charles Cross,
yeah, get out of here.
I think maybe is my pick in this box. I think you just need. We talked about it a couple times in this draft because these are all some of the worst teams in the league. That's why they're at the top of the list. So I think Charles Cross, you shore up your offensive line. If you're in Seattle and you think you're in a true rebuild mode, start at the offensive line, get that squared away, and then move it. Charles Cross, he took so many snaps in that Mike Leach offense. Like his track record, what he can do. Good pass protector. Might need a little bit of work on the run game, but Seattle, we don't know what their offense is going to look like. What's it going to look like with Drew Lock? Is it going to be more of a run first offense, or are they going to try to?
It should be.
It will be. It should. Otherwise, it's going to be a turnover run offense.
And then who's running the ball?
I think now you're selling me now for like an offensive line because you need Drew Lock to actually succeed. This isn't Russell Wilson we're talking about here.
Yeah.
He's not going to
regardless of that point, regardless of that, you still need to set him up for the illusion that he will succeed.
Exactly.
So I think Cross is a good way to go because you need some offensive line help. They've been down and bad for offensive line in Seattle for such a while. I'm going to go with Greg on this one. Go with Cross.
All right, deal. That's a done deal. We got Cross here. I actually like it. I like that here.
And now we're back.
And now we're back in a really interesting predicament. Honestly, one of the worst ways this entire draft can go for me. Jermaine Johnson sitting at 10 and we took Tibbs at 4, that makes me want to die inside. I'm being honest with you. That means we fumbled by not taking Sauce Gardner. Okay? If we were here and Jermaine Johnson's at 10, we are the dumbest franchise for not taking the cornerback, even though we signed DJ Reed. Okay? Because Tibbs and Jermaine Johnson at worst is a coin flip. Okay? At best, Tibbs is better by a hair. Right? We are really like talking third, fourth defensive end picked. One guy ended the season as the best, dropped off. One guy ended the season as mediocre, flew up. Okay, we are really
so irritated right now.
Yeah, I'll be so right now. I'll be calling for trade downs. I'll be so pissed off at whoever told me to take Tibbs at 4 in my room. Like I'll be like, I told you, bro. You should have just waited. So if I'm the Jets, I'm gonna hold my nose. Shout out to Winning Picks Weekly. I'm gonna hold my nose and take Hamilton. Hamilton's gonna be my pick at 10.
I agree. You got to. At this point,
you got to. We need a safety. All right, we can't take 3 defensive ends coming in here with Tibbs, Lawson, and we just paid John Franklin Myers. Right, we still got to pay Williams, and now we got Jermaine Johnson. I know that sounds like a gauntlet.
In John's eyes.
Dude, I'll be so pissed. I would actually be so pissed if this happens. Yeah, because Jermaine Johnson's a beast, and I want him, but I can't get him because it's like you know what it's like. You could relate if you do one of those fantasy drafts where it's the money one, and all of a sudden you spent $55 bidding on Kevin Durant in the NBA draft or whoever it is, C-Mac at the top of your NFL draft, and now you're sitting here with like $8, and meanwhile, like all of the productive players are like around. Like that's how I would feel here. So I would hold my nose here, take Hamilton, even though I like Hamilton. I don't like his 40. I hated his 40. Other than that, Hamilton's great. But man, would I have liked Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson instead. So my pick, Hamilton. Looks like that's Alex's pick. So by our rules, it looks like Hamilton is going to be the number 10 pick for the Jets. But Greg, let me know what you're thinking here, man. What do we got?
Well, I got 2 things. Last episode, we talked about like worst case scenarios for the draft. I think Alex and I talked about like pass rusher going for us. That's like our worst case because then we would probably lean offensive line or maybe Sauce Gardner. I love that we uncovered accidentally your worst case scenario here with having Jermaine Johnson still on the board because it really does suck. I agree with you. Like, if we could get Sauce and Jermaine Johnson, the problem is that if Jermaine Johnson does go to Seattle, like we talked about, or the Giants maybe at 7, then we're in a spot where we come out of the top 10 without a pass rusher. That doesn't look so good. So, one thing
I think that with 7, I think that either that's the Giants, right?
Yeah.
The Jets or the Giants will end up with Tibbs or Gardner.
Yes.
I feel like regardless, like they're gonna be interchangeable there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do have a little bit of a confession to make on this podcast because I've been so adamant against taking a wide receiver at 10.
Yeah.
I think
would want one here.
I think I might be coming around to it. I might be coming around to it. I don't know if I'm just too deep into Jets Twitter and Jets YouTube and all that stuff.
Listen, if we don't trade for a wide receiver, if the board falls exactly like we have just said in our mock draft here, I'm with you, man. If it's Hamilton, like if it's Hamilton, Jermaine Johnson, or what, Garrett Wilson?
Yeah.
Or like, Trey Burks has been the number 1 yards after catch
Trey
guy,
Burks.
Which the Jets love.
Yeah.
Yeah. His name is Trey Burks, bro. Yeah. Unfortunately, yes, it's his name.
We got Trey Burks. We got Thibodeau. We got McBride.
Yeah. It's a whole motley crew over here of mixed sound alikes. But yeah, I just think that my whole thing is.
Don't tell me there's a Julius Randle too.
I'm sure he's going number 1.
Yeah, maybe in the 6th round we could find someone close. But Garrett Wilson, to me, at this point, he just seems like just like he could start day 1 and be a threat. My only problem is one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough is that when Mike LaFleur came over from San Francisco to here. I feel like I can't tell if I'm making this up or not, but he wanted to run 2 tight end sets. So if you're running 2 tight end sets, you have 2 wide receivers out there. We now got 2 tight ends. Maybe we draft another one in this draft so we round that out, that tight end room. But we have our 2 tight ends. Are we moving back to a 2 tight end set? And if that's the case, we only need 2 wide receivers, and we have 3. So, yeah, there's injuries. Yeah, there's optionally situations where we're going to have 3 guys out there at a time. But I feel like all this need to have 4 or 5 good wide receivers is just like, I don't know if that really fits what we actually want to do. I feel like we moved away from the 2 tight end sets as a thing of necessity based on injuries and performance and, quite frankly, who we had at tight end.
So we love to run the wide zone. And because our tackle was so weak on the right, because Font had to jump to the left, we tried to add, a couple tight ends. If you remember, we had some tight ends playing fullback, right? But we got Bowden back, so at least he'll be our fullback. We did get the double tight end, this offseason. So there's some hope there that we could actually make some noise. And they're beast tight ends, dude. They are, big head tight ends ready to, Uzomah and Conklin, like they're ready to shove their faces into the defensive pass rusher. That sounds great. But you just can't. And sticking with I'm not going to say that the Jets want to run more 4 wide receiver sets. I don't know the exact stats of how many times we ran what and what was through necessity. But let's just stick with the injury stuff, man. Corey Davis can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then if Corey Davis is not on the field, then what? You know what I'm saying? Like the drop off falls. Like we don't even have Keelan Cole this year. You know what I mean? And we don't have the Smiths even. The Agent Smiths. Like it literally falls off to Mims right away. You know what I mean? So we are, regardless of whether we pick one at 10 or not, regardless of whether we trade for the top, one of the top 5 wide receivers, that are available, we are going to get a wide receiver in this draft. We are going to trade for a wide receiver, at some point. It doesn't have to be the big number 1 guy, the big splash guy. It doesn't have to be the number 10 pick, but dude, there's so many wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many guys out there. And so I agree with your philosophy, but I'm sticking with Alex here. I'm closing this off on a Hamilton number 10 safety pick. Safety pick, really. Honestly, we need a safety. I know we have a couple of small guys, but just take the safety dude and just hang out. Second round, whoever's there, wide receiver, you take. You know what I'm saying? Or wherever they're at cornerback, you can just take and kind of just chill. I don't like that it's a second wide receiver. If it's Drake London, if you love Drake London and he's your guy, like for some reason in my weird brain, you mentioned LaFleur. He loves yards after catch. So for me, when I'm scouting players, like all I'm doing is I'm like going through PFF looking for yards after catch, for college stats, Elijah Moore, like all these guys, like they have something about them that you can like kind of stands out. For me, that's Trey Burks. Trey Burks is a yards after catch guy. Yeah. And yes, he's fat, right? He's a little slow. And yes, he was injured. But that makes me believe that if he makes it to the second round and the Jets are there, that's the guy we're like aiming at. You know what I mean? He fits our mold. He's not a top guy. We're not going to break the bank, quote unquote, for him. But in this point, we are breaking the bank for Hamilton. He's going to be one of the top paid safeties in the league if we take him at number 10. So in my worst case scenario draft, it looks like it's going to end up with Tibbs and Hamilton, which interestingly enough, right? Like those are like the second and, like mocked like number 2 and 3 for most of, the season, right? Like Tibbs to the Lions, and honestly, Hamilton to the Texans. And that's why we were getting Ikem.
But honestly, even though this is your worst case scenario, this isn't really that bad of like a scenario to get a good pass rusher and then you still come out with a top safety in this draft.
The top safety.
Yeah. No, the top safety in this draft.
In a draft where there might be 4 or 5 safeties taken in the first round.
I don't necessarily believe that. But yeah, I mean, Cine is good. He doesn't fit our mold. He's a strong safety. Because we got Whitehead.
That guy out of Michigan too. Hall.
Yes. I like the Illinois.
Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor, Illinois.
Kirby something out of Illinois, yeah.
Kirby. Now we're getting Nintendo games in here.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah,
the only thing
this is my worst case. I'm not gonna cry about it. Like if
It's
this
not
happens,
that bad, bro.
I'm not gonna wake up. I'm not gonna go home from MetLife like, oh my God, why the hell did I come to MetLife? I hate this team. I hate my life. We ended up with, the biggest two potential busts in the whole draft. We have 2 picks in the top 10. We end up with both of them. Like, it's gonna frustrate me, right? Like, it really is. The 2 people with the biggest question marks, that's who we end up with in our highest value draft. Come on, bro. Like, come on, give me a break. So, but I wouldn't cry about it because, Tibbs does have the film and Hamilton does have the film. Everything else, all their stuff is really been off season. Like, Hamilton has been fantastic until the offseason where he ran a 40 and he put out a podcast. Tibbs was amazing until they started asking him questions and he's like, yeah, I went to Oregon because I like Nike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'll be able to convince myself
Hey, man.
away from this
I'll say
worst
this.
case scenario.
And I know I'm not going to tell you right now. You're probably watching this playing right now between San Antonio and New Orleans. I hope it's not going the way you wanted. But guys who they had, guys who
yesterday went exactly how I wanted it to go. Today, the NBA going exactly how I did.
That's gambling,
so,
baby.
50-50, but not happy about it.
Not bad, 50-50. But to look at Anthony Edwards, who people had a lot of questions for in the NBA draft. Guy puts out a mixtape. Guy acts like he's not really into the NBA. It's just like a luxury for him.
Doesn't love ball.
Yeah. But look at him in the playoffs right now, and he looks like he's hungry for it. So
looks like
you never know. Ball. Some of these guys, like, they just say stuff, and you have to go back and be like, yeah, they're young, whatever. They'll figure it out. So I don't know. Right, in this draft, when we talk about guys,
what's
who
your
like,
worst? What's your worst case?
We already discussed this.
This is it.
We go 3 defensive. No, if it's 3 defensive ends, like Greg mentioned on the last pod, where that really throws everything off because
we end up with IChem.
The thing is, like, it's not only about IChem, is that we still need a pass rusher too. So will Jermaine still be
Johnson
there
at 10?
Yeah. Will he be there at 10? Because if you go 3, then what are we doing? You know what I mean? And you're probably not going to get Hamilton, cornerbacks. People.
I would love if the top 3 picks went defensive ends, bro. That means Jermaine Johnson's definitely making it to 10, dude. You have Sauce Gardner. We got a.
I don't trust the Giants, bro.
I don't know. I think the Giants might
2 offensive linemen.
I feel like the Giants are going to be a team that'd be like, we're going to take an offensive and defensive lineman and call it a day. That sounds a very Giants move. That sounds like a very Giants. Actually, now that I said it, I'm believing that they're going to do that.
All right, Greg, what are your final thoughts here, man?
Dude, last thoughts on this is, like, if this is the way the draft goes, I'm with you, John, where this is starting to scare me a little bit, just because these are the two biggest fallers so far in the pre-draft process.
Yeah.
With Hamilton and Thibodeau, man, these guys, or like you said, they were 1-2, 1-3, 2-3. They were top of the list going into all season, and now
that always happens, man.
I know, but does it happen for a reason though? Like, do the people that fall actually fall? Like, I guess I have to start looking at that a little bit because, I mean,
gas mask. Is that no gas mask?
That was like a draft night thing though. That wasn't like pre-draft.
Tunsil. Yeah. He's chilling in Houston right now. He's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, he got traded for multiple first-round picks too, so like he plays well. But I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it because, to your point too, these I think are 2 of the biggest bust potentials in this whole top
scares the
half
hell
of the first round. So,
bro, I know I'm gonna be so mad leaving MetLife if this is our picks. Oh, yeah, I do not want this. I'd rather be fighting with people. Listen, I'd rather want to bash my head into my steering wheel because I have to fight with people about the wide receiver situation rather than have to fight with them about Tibbs and Hamilton. Honestly, that's that's going to be the narrative. Oh my God, Jets didn't trade for a wide receiver. We didn't draft one. The first 2 picks. Now we're on day 2. 4 wide receivers went in the first round. Like, it's all over. Light the whole Jets on fire. You know what I'm saying? Cancel the season. So, like, that would happen if we draft these 2 guys. Biggest bust potentials. Oh, this is scary. I don't like this. I don't like our mock draft.
I don't either.
That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Well,
yeah, I don't like it at all. I somehow. But the thing is,
man,
like, I would love it so much more.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what? like every mock, like everything. We did a mock draft with JD. We now did a mock draft with Greg. These things always change because you have different opinions. You start doing more research. You get all this information. This is how it really happens. This is probably what's going on in the war room. They have their top guys, but they have to also go through the measures of like, all right, what is this team thinking? What is this team thinking? Who's going to move down here? Is there going to be a trade? We didn't even do trades. There's going to be a trade.
There will be a trade.
There'll be a trade.
It might be Atlanta. It might be Atlanta moving down or Seattle.
I doubt
both of those people were confused.
Seattle, I can see Seattle doing it.
Confused with both those guys.
I could see Seattle doing it. I can't see Atlanta doing it. I honestly can't.
That's fair. But my last note is with this draft falling the way it did, we can make this a best case scenario for me, right? Like we could almost change it, right? The same exact three that go in Hutch, Walker, and Ikem, and I'm upset about Ikem. But if we take Sauce Gardner there, right, and then it falls to a Tibbs, and then Tibbs goes to the Giants in that scenario, and then Jermaine Johnson is hanging out at 10, we killed it. You know what I'm saying? We got Sauce Gardner, the number one cornerback. No one can complain about it.
I mean, we weren't that far. It wasn't that far. It wasn't that far from that happening. Like
that's what I'm saying. So it just these players specifically falling to the Jets makes this the worst draft for me. But the actual draft, if we kind of change the literal Jets picks, right? Change up Sauce for Tibbs with the New York Giants and Jets, and then that leaves our ability to take Jermaine Johnson at 10 because he's available. Like we would be hyped because everything we know about this draft is the New York Jets love two players, Ikem and Jermaine Johnson.
Yep.
That so if they end up with those two guys, they're gonna be the most hyped. But if it's Sauce and Johnson, they're gonna be okay. If it's Hamilton and Tibbs, man, that is
it's scary stuff, man. It's scary stuff.
Oh man, I hope that's the Giants. Like I wish all that bad juju on the Giants, but they would never do that. They would never take both those guys. I'm so mad about to throw this microphone, bro.
Well, it's been a long one, guys. So let's wrap this thing up. It's been a long one. So everyone who tuned in for another mock draft for the Jets, it just happens, guys. If you haven't checked the other one out, go check out the one that we did with JD after we had a long conversation about the Knicks. That's up there under its own segment. And then you can get this one. Obviously, it'll be under the Jet segment if you're watching it. Mock drafts. That's how it goes. But thank everyone for tuning in for another Jets episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. You know what to do. If you listen to this podcast, we're available on all audio listening platforms. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to give us a 5-star rating. And if you listen to us on Apple, please make sure to leave a comment. That just helps us out so greatly. We're also on YouTube. Please make sure to find Knicks, Jets, etc. Period. Subscribe to the page. Hit that notification bell. That way you know when a new episode drops. And when you watch a video, hit the like button. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Add to the conversation. I'm sure all you are just ready to talk about this one. So please comment away. We want to hear your thoughts too. Sent this thing on TikTok. Said we talked about how it's impossible to draft a wide receiver in the top 10. Got comments galore saying we're nuts. So don't worry. We're out there. We get that. But please make sure to interact with us. Let us know what your takes are. Add to the conversation. We really do appreciate it. That's it. But while you're over there, we got another podcast, Winning Picks Weekly. John and Greg have alluded to it. Hold your nose. Come on. I'm sure John wants to hold his nose after when he goes off this pod. He doesn't want to think about this pod. Probably Greg too. Greg's giving me that look.
Or these NBA play-in games. I'm done for today, bro. The Yankees suck. The play-in suck. Our mock sucks.
Gross.
Tough night.
Absolutely gross. Gross. But look, go check out Winning Picks Weekly. John, video producer Greg, Chip, they go down the NFL slate. They go through over NBA, baseball, Masters, college basketball, overs, unders, money line, props, pick'ems. Look, if you need futures, they got you on futures. Geez, what don't they talk about? I even know all these terminologies, but hey, they talk about it all. So make sure to go check those guys out. They're also partnered with Minute Media as well, so you can go find them over there too. And last and certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. We are there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another Jets episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. We out.
Let's go, Jets. Don't draft like us.